when it comes to using data and content, a narrative, how do you shift that into something that's interesting, valuable might be a better word, for the audience? How do we turn this into something that's interesting for a piece of content?
It's a great question. When we think about creating a valuable piece of content that uses proprietary data, we have figured this out a lot over the years with our data team and our clients. And, there's a lot of there after a lot of trial and error, we realized that the content marketing team needs to be involved from the very start of the data acquisition process. To have a data team who is focused solely on data sort of drive the ship up until the point of the data analysis being delivered to, let's say, a content marketing team to put together research. Sometimes there's just the way the question was asked didn't actually give us the result that's going to help us tell the story we want to tell. And I'm not saying to lie with statistics. That's not what I'm saying. But it's really, really helpful if you're let's say you want to do an industry trends report, and you're going to source a panel of survey respondents and you're going to put together a survey design. What we've started doing is getting everyone on the team who's going to be interested in using this data and getting it out to the right audience. Look at this. We create this background analysis doc that includes who do we want this to reach? What's the goal of this project? And it also includes some potential questions that we may want to ask in the survey. What kinds of questions people are asking around these topics currently. It also includes potential crosstabs we may want to analyze. Are you going to want a regional cut? Are you going to want job roles? Are you going to want to see different company sizes? Like, how are we going to want to look at this data ultimately? Because we need to make sure that we're asking the right questions in the survey to be able to get that data. And then we brainstorm what are the headlines or the press pitches or the stories that we want to be able to tell from this data set. And that usually gets the gears turning for a lot of the people involved, where a data scientist or a data analyst may not be thinking in that way. They're not thinking the same way as a marketer is thinking. They're thinking about running an effective research project. And so being able to kind of combine those skill sets and aligning on everything from the start is what has really helped to create these actually valuable pieces of research. And it's amazing how different the results are when a marketer kind of says, oh, you know what, actually, I would love to be able to say that 80% of marketers using AI are driving more, those companies are driving more revenue. So then we need to say, okay, well, we need to make sure to ask if they're driving more revenue, and we need to ask if they're using AI, and we need to ask what team they're on. So it's like a working backwards from the story you want to tell. And then, of course, once you get into the data analysis, you have to make sure that is the story in the data. Sometimes it's not, and we're like, well, shit,
Sure.
We thought this was going to be a great story, and it actually wasn't, or maybe they're not there yet. And so that has been probably one of the most valuable things, bringing in the PR team, bringing in the product team, bringing in the marketing team. If you're going to invest in a research survey or a research campaign like this, bring all those people in up front, get their 2 cents on the survey questions that you're asking and the ultimate goals of everything, and you will end up having such a more effective and valuable research campaign.
Is there pushback in that conversation, though, from the analysts that say, we have to maintain good science, and what you're asking me to do is ask leading questions or build this in such a way that we can 80% guarantee the outcome we want? Does that happen in that conversation where there's kind of an opposing force to the marketer and the PR yelling in the room? No yelling, of course.
Sometimes there's a limit as to how we can ask the question or what we can ask within the confines of the survey. But what we do is we have the marketing team come up with their kind of dream questions, just like ideas, like put out any ideas of any questions that you would want. And then our data team are the ones who design the survey using survey best practices. So they kind of data science-ify the survey questions, where maybe there's 2 question ideas we had where we can really combine those into a question. Maybe there's a question that really doesn't make sense. It's not going to actually give us good results. Marketers, we love a select all that apply. However, in the data analysis side, we love one, select one. Like we marketers want to be able
Yeah.
to get so much information, but when you actually think about the way that you're going to be analyzing and interpreting the data, there's a best practice for how you phrase a question. And sometimes it's like there's really, like you said, there's limitations. There's data best practices where we do have to push back on the marketer and say, we can't ask this in that way. Here's how we can ask it. And that's why I really love working with a data team, because I trust that they know how to design a survey in the right way that's not asking leading questions. That's not a skill that I have as a marketer, to be able to design an effective survey. Even though a lot of marketers are kind of doing our best, there's a lot of AI tools out there now to help design survey questions. There's a lot of nuance in the survey design to be able to get quality data that you can then interpret in meaningful ways. But yes, we've definitely seen some pushback between teams, and usually we can find a happy medium to get the question asked and get the information we need.